Okay, we're live now. Okay, vocational assessment is the topic for this week's Reading and Transition Coalition module. I think it's because we've been talking about like Amber's IEP and her transition, and she's 18, so she'll eventually be in a transition program.
Yeah.
I guess.
And I think it was something that we, I don't know if he probably didn't base it off of ours, but we were definitely asking a lot of questions about how she's going to transition and how the fact that her IEP didn't necessarily like have a lot of information about the next steps that she was going to take. So I think that's good that this is a topic that we're finally getting to after the first week of us trying to do this.
Yeah.
I think vocational assessment's kind of a necessary thing to know about. There's a lot that goes into it too. I feel like there's a lot of assessments I had no idea about.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, so I was doing the certification, part right before we were doing this.
Yeah.
And like the pre-test was just like, gosh, I feel like that's like one aspect that I'm just like, not that I don't really think about, but it's like I definitely focus more on the school, not like when they transition out.
Yeah.
So it's definitely something that I need to learn more about, especially if I end up working with older kids. Right now I'm working in the elementary school setting, but I think it's something a lot of people overlook in general.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's why, honestly, I think we're talking about it right now.
Chloe, I know.
Oh, sorry.
Oh no, I know you work with the high school. Are you like, do you get experience working with like secondary transition and all that?
Yeah, actually our kids have a transition binder. So we have a lot of transition activities and like what they're interested in. We have them create a resume, get work experience in the community.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm kind of lucky that I'm exposed to these things. And I'm certainly not an expert, and I still need to learn a lot of it, but it's kind of nice that like I'm exposed to it because I feel like a lot of people are in the elementary setting. So it's kind of cool. I guess I get to see this side of it.
Yeah. And I've either worked in like the younger kids or like where they've already are in that like 18 to 21 already transitioned out. So it's interesting to like see the actual process and not just like not even thinking about it or like the after. So this is something that has already interested me quite a bit. So it's cool getting to learn about it.
Yeah, definitely.
That for me, since I'm working with preschoolers, this doesn't apply to anything that I'm doing. So it's nice to be able to have like a breath of fresh air of just being able to learn something new and not having it apply to the students that you're working with.
Yeah, same, honestly.
Yeah.
Because they're not even close to even starting any of this. I mean, they're preschoolers, so.
Yeah.
Yeah, how are your assignments going for that? Like with the field experience?
It's been hard. I've had to email a couple times to figure out what to do because, like, for example, our lesson plans, if you look at Idaho core standards and everything like that, it goes K through 12.
Yeah.
I have kindergartners, I have preschoolers. So it's been interesting doing research and having to find, like, all the stuff that I'm not actually being given. And finding that along, which is weird that as I was doing that the topic of vocational stuff came up. When I was searching, they actually have a program for preschoolers, like for vocational stuff, of taking them on field trips and teaching them, how to act in public. And it was just interesting that
do you do TK?
What's that, Jenny?
Are you TK or are you just pre-K?
Pre-K.
because I guess tuition kindergarten, so that would make sense. Because I know the TK, like they go on a ton of field trips. So I know like if they end up transitioning into that, like they're gonna have to be able to go on field trips. Yeah. And so that's actually kind of cool that they're doing that at preschool.
Mm-hmm. Like we have a field trip planned for next month to Linder Farms, and we're gonna go like to the pumpkin patch with them.
Oh my goodness.
Fun.
Yeah, overwhelming to go at our age.
I want to do that. That'd be so fun.
One, it is scary. Two, it's overwhelming.
I'm sitting in the kitchen, and all my friends are like in the living room. They're like, "We want to go do that. That sounds like fun."
You're like, "Fine, take my spot."
You work with my kids, and I'll just have fun. No, I'll have fun with my kids.
That actually is really cool though that these kids are being exposed to the community. I don't know. I think that's a really good idea.
Yeah.
I didn't know that they did that.
Yeah.
So
I didn't know either. So it's nice to have that.
You get the career awareness.
Seriously.
Start them young, guys. Start them young.
I think at that age, I was like, I want to be a cheerleader, ballerina.
I wanted to be an astronaut, guys. I wanted to be an astronaut.
I want to be president, so.
Come so far.
Big dreams because I wanted to work at Baskin Robbins. So good job, guys.
No, actually, I wanted to be a nun, guys. A nun.
What? Tiffany?
You wanted to be a nun?
That's awesome.
In Head Start, that's what I want.
To each their own.
Yeah, I mean, praise be. Praise be.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Well, okay, so
anyway.
with this
We're going to make it 30 minutes this time, guys.
With this assignment, do you think that, like, applying it to Amber, what do you think if you had to take her out and do these assessments or projects with her, what would you guys do?
Good question.
That's a good question.
Yeah, I'm just trying to think about what she was telling us about herself last week.
Yeah.
But I think it was a good transition between the 2 weeks because I almost feel like it was almost like a resume last week of telling us all the things that she can do. So I think that was very helpful. But going back into the week before, let me look really quick.
She really likes singing. So, I mean, if getting any, like, field experience, you know, probably find something that fits that interest.
Yeah.
So do you think taking her to, like, a play or, like, even an audition for something?
Like theater work. That'd be cool.
Yeah.
And also something that she doesn't have to be on her feet the whole time. Since she doesn't like to move around a lot, like, okay, like if you do a really good job, like there are sitting opportunities because she would probably just sit anyways. So
I'm at her section of her portfolio that she shared with us. And some job skills I've learned are to make copies, clean up books and carry items, sharpen and shred things. It would be perfect in a library. And I
was just thinking that too.
She loves books and iPads, and now libraries have all types of technology and books, and she'd probably love it in there. So I feel like that would probably be a great area and place to be.
Yeah, she could do that like in school still.
And even as she transitions out, and it's not a super overstimulating place, and
right,
I think it would be probably a good place to work after school as well as working in the actual school library, and that she can gain some experience and learn the Dewey Decimal System, right?
Good idea.
Sorry, I just got a cold today, so I have to wipe my nose.
Good. I think we all are.
Yeah. It's going around that and the stomach virus. So I'm glad I got the nose one rather than the other. Okay. So let me go back here. Sorry, my computer is just acting all funky today.
Are we on the third question?
Yes. What are some of the big ideas you have learned about secondary transition so far this semester? Just what I've learned is pretty much just about secondary transition in general, because I didn't really know much about it. And I find it very interesting, and I've always wanted to know more about it. That's just kind of from my point of view. What about you guys?
Well, I think, yeah, I didn't realize the detail and how in-depth the program is. And so it is really interesting to get to know it. And yeah, it definitely has sparked an interest for me. Like, I didn't really know much about it. I was like, oh yeah, secondary transition. They're trying to find a career, but
yeah. And then correct me if I'm wrong, it starts when you're 8 or 16, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I thought that was interesting. I definitely thought it started within the last year of high school. So that was kind of cool to learn that it was proactive.
And I mean, obviously it would be student driven, but I still think that's a really cool thing. Like I've mentioned this before, like with our OC prep program, they go to like each community site for like 5 weeks. And if they don't like it, that's okay, because we can bring them to a new spot and they can figure out what their strengths and weaknesses are. And we also have a job coach that goes out there with them, you know, to see like, do they need more prompts? Like, is this the right place for them? So I'm still learning too, that it really takes the whole team to get these kids like prepared for after high school.
Chloe, from your point of view, how have you like learned anything else, or like how do you view secondary transition? Like, is it something useful? Like, do the kids act well to it? Do you think there is anything in general that needs to be changed? Or because I feel like we're all in the lower kids, like in school.
To be honest, I think like a lot of the kids are scared because a lot of my kids are so low, like they're very low readers. So I think they're kind of afraid, like, oh, I'll be put in the situation where I have to read or I have to interact with a customer and I don't know how to do that. So I think it even needs to start earlier than 16 to get these kids like ready, because they don't know what to expect, and a lot of them haven't had job experience yet. So I think they're really lost.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So earlier the better.
And then something else I've always like wondered about secondary transition, especially into the workforce, is how much of a parental guidance and help is there? I think that's still a question for me after this chapter.
Good question.
Because I wrote down that question too. And you know what? I feel like I should know that information, but I really don't. Like, I know that, you know, families are involved with the IEP process, but with the transition, I'm not really sure.
Yeah.
So that's a really good question.
And definitely have those families that are so great and so awesome and that will love to just hang out with their kids like long after, but then you have those parents who really don't really care, you know. And what is that? You guys all know who I'm talking about. You have an example in your head. I know you do. And and I think like that's where I'm kind of like confused as where parents who don't care, like, do the kids still get the assistance after they graduate?
I actually just, after you said that, I thought of an example of one of my kids from last year. So do you guys know what the STEP program is in Boise?
Mm-hmm.
So it's a transitional program for kids 18 to 21.
Oh, yeah.
And they teach them cooking, grocery shopping, all that stuff. And we had 2 kids that went, but we had one girl and her parents refused to let her go because they believed that her level was higher than she actually was. So now she just sits at home and she hasn't learned any of the skills that she needs to be independent.
That's really sad.
Yeah, and it's so hard for us to watch because we're not the parents and we can do everything we can.
Yeah.
But now she just sits at home with no skills. So it's hard.
Her parents probably get more and more angry.
Mm-hmm.
Not doing anything, and it's their fault.
Yeah.
Sad.
True. It is.
I did work in a group home with adults with disabilities, and they definitely, like, they had programs for them where they would, a few of them had jobs, and couple of them were still in the secondary program, the 18 to 21. So, I mean, back then I didn't really, I don't know, pay attention, I guess. But looking back, I kind of wish I would have paid more attention to that.
I mean, there's only so much you can do at one time.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Did we answer all the questions?
Which instructional and assessment practices would you use in a secondary transition setting?
Just from the ones that I've been doing, just like that quiz on. I mean, but I don't know. It's just like assessment tools and just like the education, or not the education, but the placement settings and like the social skills and just pretty much that, and see if they're capable of kind of able to tell you where they want to go after.
Uh-huh.
I forgot what assessment that was, but
Can't remember details.
Yeah,
it's like the Howl something, isn't it, that one?
Mm-hmm.
That sounds familiar.
Yeah. For career guidance or something like that.
I think a big thing for instructional is just like really teaching our kids like how do we communicate in public, like with colleagues versus how do we communicate with our friends.
Yeah.
Language, dress differently. Like I think it's those basic things that these kids don't know, which they wouldn't know. No one's ever taught them. Right. So I think it's like those like little details that kind of come into play.
We have to teach them a lot of social norms, and I think that's important to do, especially when they're transitioning out. And wasn't it a natural helper or whatever? Like it was like their manager that almost like shadows them for the first couple of days.
Mm-hmm.
Job, natural support. That's what it was. And sorry, I keep losing my focus. My friends are in the room and they're being annoying.
That's okay.
Anyway, so natural support I think is important to have, and that they develop a strong relationship. Mm-hmm. The students, the parents, the educators, and the natural support.
And also another thing that I've noticed is like my students really depend. So I'm the paraprofessional, so I go to classes with them, and like if they don't write down the notes, they come to me. So like in a job, they can't, like I can't always be there. So I think that's another thing is like learning that independence. Like if you have a question, we need to ask someone. You know, you can't just, I don't know. It's like that independence that needs to happen.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And I think exactly what you just said.
I think it's important. I like the whole self-awareness, like them being aware of their strengths and their weaknesses, and all the assessments that find their interests, what they're interested in, I think are really important. I don't know the exact names of them, but that's what I would use in the setting.
Mm-hmm.
I'm glad we're all on the same page for that one.
Anything else? You guys are dying to say it? No? Okay.
I think we hit every point, including what we all wanted to be when we grow up. I'm still a little concerned you wanted to be a nun, but
yeah. I don't know. I didn't know.
That's hilarious, though. I like it.
I know. It was very unorthodox. I want to be that.
Oh,
that's what I wanted. So I married a couple of my friends because I thought that I was authorized to do so, being a nun or an aspiring nun. That was my pre-K life, guys.
Nice.
Living the dream as a child, you crazy kid.
I know. They couldn't keep me out of trouble.
I feel like asking my kids what they want to be now, just because I want to hear their answers.
Oh yeah, no, it might be what they want to be. All right.
My kids just tell me to go away. No, they don't. Just like one. Okay. I'm like, what do you want to be? I don't know. I'm like, that's fine. You're 15. We'll figure it out
Next year.
Don't worry.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you know what? As they shouldn't know what they want to do. Like when I was that age, I didn't know.
I know. So that's
why we're here to.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. We still don't know what we're doing.
We're trying to get our masters, and we barely know what we're doing.
All right. So Katarina, do you have time to send this again?
I do, yeah, if you just email it to me. Did we get it figured out with the last one?
Oh, yeah.
I saw your response. Yeah. On my thing. Like it popped up under my submission that you're like, our whole team is here.
Yeah.
Or whatever.
Kat,
so
Allie, hi.
Oh, hi, Allie.
Hi, Kat. Allie and Kat, and that's Molly. They all know Kat. Now you know why they're annoying. They're trying to get her attention the whole time. Go ahead, Kat.
Yeah, no, I don't know what happened the last time because when I clicked on the link that you sent me, Chloe, it went to the actual video submission. It was fine.
Because whenever I click on my video submission, it acts like I've already submitted something and there's no like browse your computer or like there's no like comment box on mine every single time.
So weird. Strange. Because when I go in, like I'll even try right now.
So, yeah, why don't you check? Because mine isn't working for some reason. Like
I just
every time.
I just press continue.
So you click on the folder and then.
Does yours say continue?
Like on the submission folder.
Uh-huh.
Is review submission history. And I haven't even turned in anything. After you turn in a paper, it'll be like, review it. That's what it says right now.
Yeah. See, mine says okay and continue. So,
oh. Okay, then you're going to be the submitter person.
I can do that. Just send me the link and I'll do it.
Okay, cool.
Sounds good.
Okay,
so
are we all good
for next week?
All right.
Are we still good for our same day that we normally do, Thursdays?
Yeah, we don't have any more Thursday games.
Yeah.
So Thursday at 6, right? Is what we were doing.
Thursday.
Okay.
Okay.
Cool.
Right.
Bye, guys.
Bye.
Have
a good weekend.
Bye.
You too.
Bye.
Bye, Allie. Bye, Holly. Bye. Hi. Chloe, you're going to send that